的预决算，然后也会实行监督。然后另外就是他们现在就是说这位女士他们所在的这种职位，就是他们有那种雇佣人员的权利，以及确定他的工资和他的职位的这种权利。然后他们就是说他们的那些很多的资金都愿意用于新建这种校园的建筑，还有医院以及研究的中心。还有就是然后这个下面是关于他们的财政，就是说他们的那个资金来源一般是来源于那种癌症病人的治疗，还有项目所得的那种好像。
We also had to make huge investments into the future of the Institute to be sure that once we had made all of these changes, we could continue to grow and to expand. So after we became private, we put about $90 million into recruiting new faculty, new graduate students, and part of that money is related to the fact that when we hire a new faculty member, we also have to provide them money to start their lab, to hire students, to buy equipment. We had very bad information technology. Again, with the state government, even though they recognized that we needed to upgrade all of our computer systems, they would never give us the money to do it. So we have put about $40 million into all new computer systems and continue to invest more money. And as I mentioned, we've got yet another new building under construction right now that is going to cost about $75 million. We've put another $200 million into buildings that had not had the kind of repairs they should have had while we were run by the government. The interesting thing about this new governance is that we are responsible for all the budget, but the state of New York still owns the buildings. So even though they own the buildings, we're the ones raising the money to make sure that the buildings are always modern and efficient and in good repair.
我们就是说现在还拥有比较大的那个投资量，能够保证我们在未来的时间能够来长久的发展。就是我们现在的大部分资金都用于人员的雇用，以及这种新招进来的研究生的费用，还有购买设备。就是说现在政府对他们已经是没有赞助，就是他们购买或使用那种电脑的系统都是由他们自己出资。然后这里有个非常有趣的现象，就是他们有权来决定这种财政的预决算，但是他们所修建的建筑还是属于政府的。所以就是说，他们在修建这种建筑的时候，都要保证这种建筑物它是那种高效的、比较现代化的、利用率比较高的。
So in the 5 years since we became private, we have our budget, our operating budget, has almost doubled. It's gone from $180 million a year to $325 million. We had about 2,100 employees before the change. We now have about 2,600 and continue to hire. And we had about 1.4 million square feet of facilities. When our new building is done, we'll be up to about 2 million square feet. So we have been able to grow very rapidly with the government out of our lives. The important thing for you to know is that we still get money from New York State. So of that $325 million budget, New York State still provides about $80 million a year to support the Institute. What they don't do is tell us how to spend that $80 million. They now let us decide what's most important to run a really good facility.
就是在5年，就是他们已经就是私有，就是私人化有5年了，然后在这5年中，他们的那个运营费用是翻倍了的。从这个 PPT 上我们可以看到，不论是财政预算，还是人员，还是这种设备的利用率，基本上都有很大的增长。然后有一点就是，我们依然就是从纽约州政府会拨款给我们，大概有80 million 8亿。但是是由我们来决定这些钱怎么使用的。
And today, the way we spend our money is roughly half and half. We get about $80 million in research grants to support our research. We have about 100 patents for original work that is being done. About 1,500 employees are involved in cancer research, and they occupy about 1 million square feet of space. The doctors and nurses who treat our patients see about 23,000 patients a year. We see about 150,000 outpatient visits. Again, by Wuhan numbers, that probably doesn't sound like a lot. But Buffalo is in a relatively small population area. The entire western half of New York State only has about 2.5 million people. So half the state, geographically, has only about 2.5 million people. New York State has 19 million people. Almost all of them live in and around New York City. So these kinds of patient numbers are fairly high for an area with a small population. And we have about 1,000 employees who are involved with cancer care and treatment.
然后这是我们一个关于研究和这种治疗的这种一个比较，就是可以看出来，这种用于研究的费用和用于治疗病人的费用基本上是差不多的。然后我们可以看到，注意一下这个人数，就是说这个人数可能对于武汉，对于跟武汉的人口比根本就算不上什么，但是对于他们来说，他们的就是说人口比较的少，对于他们来说，就是说这个数目已经算是很多的了。
I'm only going to spend a very short minute on this. We also have many educational programs. We have high school students who come in the summertime to work in our research laboratory. We also have a high school that sends its biology students to us, and they actually take their classes with us. We provide both doctoral and MD medical degrees to about 170 students each year. And we also have doctors who train at the Institute. So lots of educational activities.
我们也就是说在教育上面也有很多涉足，比如说会有高中生放暑假的时候到我们来加入我们的研究组织。然后另外就是我们会给生物系的大学生上课。另外就是在我们的机构中也有关于硕士和博士的这种学位，有一些这种学位的项目。然后我们还会有这种关于治疗的这种护士或者医生的一个培训。
And very quickly, we're very important to the economy of our community. Because we are a small city, the amount of employees at Roswell, the amount of money that we bring into the community because people come from all over the world to be treated at Roswell, the grants we receive for our research, very important to the economy of Buffalo. So the city and the county also care about the health of our institute. They want to have us successful.
就是现在我们这个机构已经成为我们所在的那个地区一个比较重要的经济大户，就是因为我们有很多的经费来自于科研项目和治疗病人，所以这些我们这个城市的这种政府机构也非常关心我们的成长，很希望我们在以后的发展当中能够不断的成功。
We also are responsible for bringing new technology into the community because new technology is so expensive and because of our unique position of being private but receiving state support, we feel a responsibility to bring expensive equipment into Buffalo that can be used by all the doctors and all the patients, as well as researchers at the university.
就是说我们也觉得我们有这种责任来引进这种最新的这种技术，我们经常引进这种比较昂贵的设备来供医生使用，或者是来做研究。
And we won't bother going through this list, but we collaborate. We have partners nationally, all over the United States, with industry, with lots of pharmaceutical companies and biotech companies. And that has resulted in some very large grants coming to the Institute, grants that require partnerships. Our doctors, our scientists, maybe somebody from the university. Partnerships create a certain amount of stress in an organization.
然后我们和很多高校和公司都建立了很好的这种伙伴关系。刚刚前两张表它列举了一些，就是建立了那种伙伴的一些名录。然后这个是关于最近那种比较发生的他们机构所发生的那种比较重大的事情。首先他介绍了第一个就是拿到了一个关于这种蛋白质项目的一个项目。
It is difficult enough to manage your own employees, and then with partnerships, you have people from a variety of institutions and businesses who also have their own needs. And now you're managing your employees and other people's employees at the same time.
然后就是有这种作为组织来说，可能有些比较管理自己的这种雇佣的人员，但是如果有合作伙伴的话，就可以把自己雇佣的人和他们合作伙伴带过来，这些人员放在一起进行交流，这样的一个管理。
One of our partnerships was to create a whole new center in life sciences. There was 2 big vacant pieces of land, here and here. And all of this is Roswell Park. We, in partnership, decided that we would fill in those 2 vacant pieces of land with a new building, with our partner who is an institute in structural biology, our partners from the university in this building who are creating a center in bioinformatics, and a new building for us in genetics and pharmacology, which is this building. These buildings are just about done and will open within a couple of months.
就是通过这种合作关系，就是他们达成了这种协议来新建这种用于研究和教学的这种建筑，一共有3个，都是跟其他的那些组织进行合作建立的，而且这些东西现在正在建，几个月之后就会对外开放了。
Now, I've given you a little background on all of the changes that have been going on. Our employees were all employees of New York State. They were all government workers. They now work for a private corporation. We've increased the number of patients, the number of employees, the number of buildings. We have more new partners. All of this is in 5 years. It creates a lot of management stress.
刚刚就是基本上我是介绍了5年来就是我们组织的发展，其中2个鲜明的特点就是第一，我们从公共组织转变为了私人组织，我们以前在这里工作的政府工作人员都已经成为了我们自己的人员。第二个就是我们组织本身的发展壮大，这里包括病人人数的增加，那种建筑物的增加以及科研经费的增加。
Our employees were all members of unions. They had to change their job descriptions, but we needed to protect their rights as state employees while we were doing that. That meant many of our employees were very concerned that either they would lose their jobs or that their jobs would be downgraded, that their jobs would be less than what they had been before we became private.
这个雇佣的人员，因为以前就是他们都是属于州政府的，然后私有化之后，私立之后，就是说他们会有一系列的担忧，就是一方面会觉得他们会不会就是失去工作，另一方面就是会不会跟以前有一些变化。
In the end, what happened is that their retirement benefits and their job protection stayed in place. Their job description changed, and many employees actually got a raise. So they got more money after we became private. For employees whose jobs now were going to be paid less, only the new employees received the lower wage. The employees already in those jobs kept their salary exactly where it was.
对于这些以前的雇佣者来说，他们的那种退休以后的养老基金是没有变的，变化的只是他们的那种工作范围和职责。他们的工资跟以前相比没有变，反而有略微的增加。但是对于新雇佣的这些人，可能他们的工资会低一些。
We had to purchase everything through a government purchasing program. So one of the things we needed to do was set up all of our own purchasing procedures in the Institute. That meant we had to create a whole new department just to handle purchasing of goods.
这个变化就是从这种采购上面的变化，从以前的这种政府采购到现在的私人采购，就为了这个我们专门成立了一个部门，来保证这个部分能够顺利的运转。
We also had to hire through government civil service. So the state of New York established the exams and ranked the exam scores when we had a job. Now we had to create our own human resources department just as if we were a private business.
就以前来说是由州政府通过一系列的测试和评估来评判，就是我们人员的效绩。但是现在私有化之后，我们建立了自己一整套的人力资源管理的模式，就像那种私人的公司一样。
We also had to have legal counsel because, as part of the state, people could sue us, but they were suing the state of New York. Suing the government is not an easy thing to do. Now we were private, we needed to have all of our own legal advice and set up our own law department to protect the Institute.
然后我们建立了自己的一种独立的法人体系，因为对于以前来说，人们去诉讼那个政府是不可能的，但是现在是不太可能的。但是现在我们成了那种私人的机构的话，就有可能会被诉讼，所以我们要建立一整套的比较完善的法律体系。
And again, because our buildings were in very poor condition, we had to hire engineers and planners and facilities people to get our buildings back up to the standard that we wanted them to be at.
然后另外一个就是我们以前的这种设备，可能比较的老化，就是现在我们要雇佣新的人来提升这种设备的质量，以适应我们的发展。
So in the end, we ended up creating new jobs by leaving the government and becoming private because we needed to build systems inside the Institute to do what the state used to do for us, or in many cases what the state didn't really do for us.
所以就是我们私人化以后，我们私有化以后，就是我们雇佣了很多新的人员，因为我们自己要成立自己独立的体系，来替代以前政府来帮我们做的事情，甚至是以前政府不帮我们做的事情，现在我们要自己做。
This means there's been a huge change in culture. We've gone from people who thought their jobs were always protected because they were government workers to people who need to be employed by us because they care about what they do and they take pride in what they do.
然后，所有的这种变化就是导致了一种关于这种协会文化的变迁。就是以前都是由政府来为我们做，但是现在私人化以后，就是说，是我们自己来对自己有一套独立的这种运营体系，然后为我们所做的而感到自豪。
And today, that transition has resulted in us being one of the top cancer centers in the United States. We're among the top 10% in the country for patient satisfaction with our services. We've had a huge increase in revenues, and we have donors who give us about $10 million a year to support our work.
所以在今天可以看到，我们已经是一种比较优秀的这种癌症的这种协会了。所以这个上面大家可以看到，就是他们今天的这种地位。
That would sound like it's all good news, but it's not all good news if you're an employee in an organization going through all of this very rapid change. It's very hard to deal with. We are so busy, it's hard to leave people time to critically think about their jobs and how they could do them better. There's a lot of staff stress because we're always reacting to whatever is happening right now instead of having a chance to plan for change that is coming. We have lots of new employees who bring lots of new ideas into the workplace, but they're working next to people who have been government workers for 20 and 30 years. So there's a clash between the new and the old employees. And we're growing so fast, even though we're making a great deal more money, we still just can't get enough dollars to do everything we would like to do. So we have to say no to people who see us growing, building new buildings, hiring new people, but we don't have enough money for their special program.
刚刚听到的都是好消息，但是我们也面临了一些管理上的这种威胁。首先，第一个就是我们的压力增大了，就是我们要自己来面对，所发生的一切事情，而不是像以前一样站在政府的后面。第二呢，就是新的这种人员进来带来了一种思想上的一种冲突。就像以前雇佣的人员，他们都是政府雇佣人员，然后现在的新人和以前的老员工之间会有一些想法上的不同。第三个就是经费始终还是不足以让他们做任何他们想要做的事情。
We have a management consultant who is working with us right now to help us with some of these changes. His criticism of Roswell is that the employees from the very top to the very bottom see Roswell as a family. And he sees that as a weakness because we tend to be more concerned about the individual who has worked for us for a long time and is your friend in the workplace. than whether that person is really contributing the very best that they could to the organization.
我们作为我们这种管理模式上，我们请了一些咨询顾问，就是在我们的这种组织中，员工看起来都像家人一样，都是一个大家庭，但是可能这样子也会面临一些问题，就是说不能够很好的衡量到底是谁为我们这个协会做了最大的努力和最大的贡献。
We also have groups that work as teams, whether it's on a nursing floor caring for patients or in a research lab, in one of the administrative departments. People see themselves as a working group. And they are so bonded, they find it hard to see the bigger needs of the institution. So they understand what they want and need. They don't understand what everybody else does and why some decisions have to be made that are better for the institution than it might be for the group.
另外一个就是那个成员之间就是分为了不同的那种队伍，然后他们之间联系非常紧密，往往就是他们只会看到他们所面临的问题，就是他们应该注意的方面，而忽视了协会其他各个部门所面临的各种问题或者是需要。
And our work is very intense. If you are dealing with a bone marrow transplant patient, if you are working on a research project, that's all you focus on. You're so intense about your own work that it's hard for you to develop an appreciation that other teams are also doing very valuable things.
还有一个问题就是就是当那些雇佣的人，他只是在做这个研究的时候，或者是只是治疗病人的时候，他就会只看到自己的一面，然后觉得这个贡献都是靠他这个团队来做出来的，就是说很少来看到其他团员的很少来看到其他这种成员的工作，也很少来对他们的所做的事情表示感激。
What we have found is that within the organization there are different cultures. Our doctors, our physicians, tend to act very quickly, very decisively. So they don't have a lot of patience for planning.
在我们这个协会中也有不同的文化，比如说像治疗这种病人的医生，他就想不论做什么事情都能够得到很快很有效的解决，不愿意再等。
Our researchers, on the other hand, want to analyze and study and think about everything. And sometimes it's hard to get them moving to make a decision.
然后作为研究人员来说，他们就需要很长的时间来进行研究，所以对于他们来说，好像做一个决策需要很长的时间。
The service employees are always focused on the patients. So to them, if it's good for the patient, it's good for the institute. And it's difficult to make them understand that sometimes there are policies that are actually good for the patient, but it changes the way they interact with them, and they're very resistant to that.
然后这个服务人员就很看重这个病人，因为他们每天都跟病人打交道，他们一直以来信奉的理念就是对病人好的就是对协会好的，所以有时候他们并不能理解某些政策，就是说在对待病人上面有一些改变，但是实际上最终还是对待病人好的。像对于这种政策，他们就会有一些抵制。
And the administrators, of course, are always worried about the budget. How much does it cost, and will we be able to cover the cost of whatever the new project is that somebody wants to do?
然后管理人员就是会为这种财政方面的、财务方面的东西而感到很忧心。
So what we're doing right now is a staff evaluation process that first starts with every manager completing an evaluation of their own management styles. We are working with a consultant, and this starts with the president, and right now goes down through all of the vice presidents. and soon will go to all of the department chairs. Everybody has to do an evaluation of what their management style is like.
解决方法其中一个就是自我评估，这个是从经理到副经理级的人在做以后也会延展到其他的人员，就是来评估自己的这种管理的方式。
And then, after the consultant discusses the results of that study with our very senior people, they do what is called a 360 evaluation, and that is a selection of the people who report to that manager, people who work with that manager, and people who supervise that manager all get to evaluate that individual style.
在经过第一个自我评估阶段之后，就会有一个集体的评估，这就会邀请那些向经理报告，然后帮经理做事和监督经理的这些人来参与到这个评估，来进行一个进一步的对这个管理来做一个进一步的评价。
And just in case you wonder how effective that is, it is all anonymous. The individual being reviewed does not know who was making the comments about them. They're all grouped together, and he or she is told how other people see how they work as a manager.
然后这个评估是一个集体的，就是不是个人来发表见解的，然后都是一个集体整体来评判另外的一些人对他们这种工作的看法。
People who have problems with how they interact with other people in the institution, whether that is the way they supervise subordinates or whether it's the way they work with their peers, with people at the same level, will then have executive counseling with the consultant in hopes that we can modify behavior that is having a negative effect on the way management works in the institute.
然后另外一个就是同一级别的人员之间的一个这样的评估，这样是为了使人员与人员之间进行更好的交流。
And then in the end, and this is what I'll be doing when I get back to the United States, we are having a management analysis meeting with the president, the vice president, the chief fiscal officer, all the senior vice presidents, all the vice presidents. That's about 30 people, where they will come together and we will discuss how all of our individual styles are either contributing to or hindering the future progress of the Institute.
然后另外一个就是我回美国之后要做的，就是把我们的经理、总经理、副总经理以及各个部门的主管一起召集过来，大概有30个人左右，然后来进行评估，就是看其他人对这个协会所做出的贡献以及他们所带来的潜在的威胁。
We'll try to identify group problems. Are there things that we all do that just aren't healthy for the way we manage? Do we all see what we want Roswell to be? Do we have the same vision for what the Institute should be? Do we all have the same priorities? And I can tell you already from the work we've done, we don't all have the same priorities. It goes back to the comment I made about the different cultures. The physician's priority is not the same as the scientist's priority. So trying to get everyone to have the same set of goals for the Institute is something we're going to be working on over the fall. And once all the managers agree, then we'll do a communication plan to the rest of the employees so everybody knows where we're going, what we're doing, and how we plan to get there.
我们这样做的目的是树立一个明确的集体的那种目标。就是刚刚我所提到，就是研究人员会有他们自己的一种想法，然后对待医生也会有自己的想法。就是我们所做的这一切，就是让他们的想法集体的融合起来，然后在心中有一个集体的那种组织上的目标。
And in the end, there will be some changes. That is understood. We will probably change the organizational chart. We will change how people report to each other. We will change reporting relationships. If we have individuals that we know are definitely an obstacle to a particular group working effectively, we will change that reporting relationship. We may change some people's responsibilities. Some may get more responsibility. Some may have some responsibilities taken away from them. And we will probably selectively have to terminate one or two managers. We already know that we have a couple of people who are very resistant to this process.
然后我们就会评估完了之后，我们会有一些变化，主要是包括这种人员报告的关系，另外就是责任，有些人会获得更多的这种责任，但是有些人会减少。另外就是我们会有可能有选择性的使一些就是不能够认同这种集体目标的经理，使他们辞职或者是之类的。
The American term is, and I don't know if it translates well, we have some people who don't work and play well with others. It means that they just don't understand that they need to work collectively and cooperatively. They want to hold on to all the power themselves, and it's a problem.
然后有一些人就是很想就是自己掌握住这种权利，然后不与别人交流，就像那种不是特别能够融于组织的这一种。
And once we get through this process, which is the most difficult, making a decision that somebody who is very talented, we are talking about a group of people with very good skills, very bright, very well educated, but they have some management style problems. When we get through the difficult process of deciding whether someone needs to be terminated to make the group work better together, then we will continue with team development and employee training activities in hopes that we can make sure we never hit the same stress level again in the organization.
就是在我们评估的时候，我们可能会碰到一些这样的经理，就是说他们非常的能干，然后也受过很好的教育，但是他们在管理模式上会有一些问题，由于他们可能太将权力握于到自己的手中，然后这样的时候，我们就会通过一系列的方法，如果实在没有办法的话，可能会通过人员辞职来解决。然后这一系列完了之后，我们会有一个人员的这种团队的培训。
In the end, what we care about as a group of managers is that we meet our mission, and that our mission is to improve care and treatment for cancer patients, improve their quality of life, and conduct very high-level research into cancer. Because what we are all about, no matter where we work in the organization, is our patients. In the end, everything goes back to, are we as an organization doing the best we can for the patients that we serve?
我们所做的一切都是为了使我们的组织来达到我们自己的目标。就是我们一切都是最终都是为了病人，我们的那个组织的存在也是更多的来减少他们的痛苦。
And you've also been very patient. I would be happy to answer any questions you have, or to talk a little bit more about any of the points that I raised that you might have interest in.
现在大家可以就感兴趣的问题提问。
晚上的7点钟在N410讲座的教室。 好，感谢圣地亚教授不远万里给我们来传授美国的一些文化。我下面有2个情况想请教授给我们介绍一下。第一方面的话呢，就是刚才您介绍到你们的部门有政府来的拨款，比如说是8亿吧。那么有哪些部门就是实施这个监督和审计，就是以监督这个款项使用的公平性和公益性？第二个情况就是呢，就是我想再请教一个，就是公共部门的私有化之后，如何在私人部门的利益以及公众利益之间找到一个平衡？谢谢。
As you just mentioned that nearly every year the New York State will give you maybe $80 million. So who take the responsibility to supervise such kind of money to make it to be equally used? And the second question is, the private, after the public department has been privatized. Yeah. Okay. How to guarantee the public profit and how do you erode the public benefit to the private benefit?
The first question is a good one. The way the oversight structure is set up financially, the state of New York gives us money to support our research and education functions. We have a fiscal office at the Institute. That fiscal office has outside independent auditors that go through the books every year. The controller of New York State can also audit our books anytime he wants to, and in fact just did that a couple of months ago. And the way the private structure is set up, the 12 people who are the board of directors have legal responsibility for the finances. So if there was anything that was a misuse of those funds and not being used for the public good, they have personal, legal, and financial liability. So there are really 3 levels of control: our fiscal office, our independent auditor, the auditor of the state of New York, and the board of directors. On the second point, why don't you do that first?
就是关于这个监督的问题，纽约州的政府还有独立的审计机构，以及他们董事会的12个成员都负有这种监督这种财政的这种职责。如果就是在这方面出现问题的话，那么董事局的这12个人都有可能会遇到这种对于一种法律上的追究，所以他们实际上他们的这种监管还是比较严重的。
On the second point, I think it would be more difficult if we were, if we were making automobiles and had been a government agency and then became private. Our mission, because it's always been patient care, education, and research, already is very much focused on the public good. So I think the issue about whether we are using the dollars to really benefit the citizens of New York State is less of a problem because we have always had a mission to serve the citizens of New York State.
对于这个第2个问题可能会困难一些，但是就说不论怎么样，我们确立的那个目标就是一切为了病人，一切为了这种居民而言的，所以就是说跟这种公共的这种利益其实并不冲突，反而是那种非常相容的，就是说我们会用我们的这种目标来达到我们所做的任何事情，
from the society?
We have, the question is, how do we get our funds from society at large? We have several sources of income. We charge fees, of course, to provide services to cancer patients. Many of those dollars come from insurance companies because, as you all know, we do not have socialized medicine. Therefore, people pay out of their own pocket, or they have insurance to cover the cost of care. We get research grants from the federal government and other sources to support that work. We get donations from people who are grateful for the work we've done for their mothers, their fathers, a friend who's been treated at the Institute. And we also, of course, receive the money from New York State to support research and education.
关于这种经费大致是有4个来源。第一就是病人来治病，他们是要自己掏钱的，或者这个是由保险公司来理赔。然后第二个就是会从这种州立政府来争取到科研经费。然后第三个就是州政府还给他们拨款。然后第四个就是可能会有一些私人捐款，主要是从这4个方面。
And the one thing that you should know is that the money that we're getting from New York State is going down every year. As we become more successful, the state is providing fewer and fewer dollars. That is a problem, and a problem that we're trying to deal with right now because we're growing so rapidly.
然后另外一个就是随着我们越来越成功，就是州政府给我们的拨款是日益减少，这是一个我们急需要解决的问题，因为随着我们的壮大发展，就是说我们那种资金的需求量还是很大的。
Are there any other questions?
Thank you for your wonderful speech. And I have a question which is about China.
Well, anyone who was asleep is no longer asleep.
I just said that privatization is a very tough job. Because people are always afraid of losing their job of the protection from the government. And you know that China is now undergoing some large scale privatization. So it's a very difficult job for us to encourage people and persuade them to undertake privatization. So, I just want you to give us some suggestion about how to encourage people and persuade people to bravely undertake privatization. Thank you very much.
Thanks. One of the very important things that happened for us was the change in leadership at Roswell Park at the time we were going into a private organization. The president of the Institute, who I work for, is a remarkable man who knew that employees were going to be very concerned about this. The unions took out newspaper ads protesting. They visited state legislators. They tried to petition the governor. Everything that you would expect when you have a group of government employees who fear that they may be losing their job. He spent an extraordinary amount of time with those union leaders trying to convince them that in the end this would be a positive change. And I think the fact that he took the time to educate the leadership as to what was going to happen, what it would mean for them, and in fact, when we were doing the contract with the state of New York to change governance, he invited the union leaders to be at the bargaining table with him. So it was the union leadership, people from Roswell Park, and the governor's office who all sat together and talked about what every change was going to mean for the employees. Was everybody happy? Absolutely not. And there are still people today who are unhappy, but they are a very small group. The vast majority of people almost didn't know a change had taken place when it actually happened. About the only thing that happened is their paycheck looked different, the physical appearance of the paycheck. Otherwise, almost everybody was unaware of the date that we went from state to private. It was that smooth. But it took almost 2 years of working with the union leadership to make them comfortable about what was going to happen. And I think that's really the key. It can't just be dictated. It can't just happen. It needs to be gradual enough that everybody understands what it's going to mean for them as the change takes place. And the reality is it means some people lose their jobs. You can't avoid it. Because in government organizations, there's always a small group of people who have been protected and are unproductive. And they are the ones who are always the most worried about what's going to happen with this kind of change. We found the majority of our employees welcomed it because it meant that they could be promoted and rewarded for good service. They weren't stuck in a government stated level of employment. They didn't have to take another exam. They didn't have to wait for a list to come out. If they were doing a really good job and we saw that they were very bright and contributing, they would be promoted. New responsibility, new salary. So most of them welcomed it, but it is very hard for those who know that their jobs clearly will be at risk. Sorry, that was long.
刚刚这位同学提到的问题就是，在中国就是面临这种自由化之后，有很多人是不愿意脱离政府来去这种私人的部门工作的，因为他们很担心会失去工作，或者是很担心他们的福利。然后刚刚的回答大概就是，就是当他们有这种自由化的想法之后，这个总裁，然后以前这种人员他们就会成立各种协会去进行抗议，在媒体上或者是去州政府进行抗议，然后他们的成立了协会，因为他们想最大程度的保障自己的利益。然后当时这个协会的主席他就召集了这些他们成立的这些协会的就这些协会的领头的人，然后坐在一起来说，尽量的说服他们，用了很长的一段时间，大概是2年。然后最后当跟州政府进行这种自由化的谈判的时候，主席也把他们这些人邀请到谈判桌上，然后让这些人很明确的知道将会有什么变化，他们以后面临的福利是什么样子的。就是说，这种建议就是在对这种公共部门私有化这种人员的时候，是不能做这种一刀切的方式，而是要让他们逐渐的意识到他们以后会有什么变化。然后对于一大部分来说，现在已经很接受，并且对这种行动很表示欢迎，就是因为他们以前在政府里面，他们的待遇都是固定的，就是说不会以他们工作的好坏来判定他们待遇的优良。但是私有化之后，他们完全可以以他们工作的这种优秀程度来实行这种浮动的奖励，然后他们也不需要每年都参加考试啊这些东西。所以很大一部分人都是很欢迎的，但是无可避免的也会导致一部分人失业。这种人往往就是在政府里面碌碌无为、无所作为的人，这种人是最担心失业的，这是无法避免的。但是现在就是说，还是有一部分人无法接受，但是已经是很少数的人了。
Just now, you answered the question, the question how to your committee how to balance the benefit of public and private. And I want to know if your committee have the scientific share policy, and you have. I want to know you how to do it.
I'm sorry, scientific.
Scientific data share policy.
We'll do it backwards. The data sharing policy for all of our research and original findings is dictated by policies of the National Institutes of Health by the federal government. We are required to provide public record data to any scientist, any colleague, and to share data openly with any funder or any collaborators. So a scientist cannot hold on to information coming out of his lab that is being done in collaboration with another person. When it comes to patient data, there is a new federal law about sharing information about patients that is very complicated, as only the government can do, which is making sharing of patient information, especially for research, very difficult right now. I think the law is going to change, but at the moment, the patient owns all their information. So you can't share anything without a release from the patient, and even then it's controlled. It is pretty much an open policy in terms of data, and we are a research institute. As a research institute, we want to share our data with other people who are going to make good use of it for research, for public policy, whatever the situation might be. The public-private benefit is, I guess it's hard for me to define it, because I don't see that what we do has changed very much from when we were a New York State facility, other than it's better. It's of a higher quality. We do more of it. We are serving a larger audience, a larger population than we ever have in the past. So there's never been a question about whether this was a wise decision in terms of public policy and the use of public funds. Does that somewhat answer it for you? I know it's hard for me to say that there's been a big change there, other than we do things better than we've ever done before.
刚刚是问了一个政策共享问题，就是关于他们这种科技政策的制定，一般都是由卫生部门、卫生部来做，然后他们会有一个信息共享的系统，然后他们本身也欢迎，就是说如果有人来用他们的这种信息的话，他们也是表示欢迎，而且愿意提供。但是关于病人本身的信息，就是州政府有很多比较复杂的法律条款，就说他们虽然很想，但是因为这是涉及到病人的隐私，所以还是很难采用。然后关于那个私有化之后，这种公共利益和这种私人利益的冲突，就是他基本上没有看到有什么变化，但是相反就是说，所以他很难回答这个问题。但是相反，他觉得私有化之后，他们的效率更高，能够提供更好的服务，所以他并没有看到关于这方面的冲突。
And I know some of you are concerned about what happened to the employees. Our employees are still part of the state retirement system. That means that when you retire from Roswell Park, you will collect about 70% of your salary for the rest of your life. And your health care is still covered. Many of our employees have been with us 20, 30, 40 years. So it's not as if when this change took place, everybody was pushed out for new people to come in. What happened was the really good employees stayed, and we added new employees.
然后关于这个我们以前的那个就是以前雇佣的这些人员，就是说他们从那种从政府雇佣转到这种私人之后，但是他们的那种退休金还是纳入了政府财政的范围，还是进入了那种政府退休养老的体系。然后他们基本上退休之后能够拿到 70%的工资，然后他们的医疗也是很有保障的，也是纳入其中的。然后因为这些员工是跟他们一起工作20年、30年、40年，就是说是不能够，就是说在私有化之后是不能够把这些老的员工一并推出之外，然后马上全都招聘新的员工，他们都是保留下来有能力的老员工，然后再加入新鲜的血液，这样来运营的。
Because we have a reputation for treating our employees very well, we are one of the most desired employers in the area. People, when we have a job opening, we will have 100, 150 applications for that job because people want to work at Roswell.
然后随着我们就是在这种治疗癌症方面的这种声誉非常的高，所以就是说有很多人都愿意到我们的这种协会来任职。当有一个职位空缺的时候，往往有100-200人来应聘，就是可见还是很多人都愿意加入我们这个组织。
Very difficult question. I think a great deal depends on the government entity that is running the institution. The New York State has a reputation in the United States for being especially difficult. Lots of layers of bureaucracy, very rigid. Massachusetts and California approach how they deal with institutes like Roswell differently. So I think the first part of the question is, it depends on which government unit is running you. And in our particular case, we were in a state where the government bureaucracy is very difficult to work your way through. In other states, it's much easier, much more open. States have less layers on top of some of their universities and research institutes, and it works fine for them. It was not working fine for us. The issue about other institutes, we're a little different. There are 9 cancer centers in the United States that are what we call freestanding. They're not part of a university. They're not part of a hospital. They are their own institute. And of those 9, only one other has a state level of support attached to it. All the others are 100% independent. They get all of their own money. They have no outside control. And that was one of the issues that we were dealing with. So I think it all has to do with who the government and agency is and exactly how the institute is trying to function. There are very successful independent institutions. One is called Fox Chase in Philadelphia. There's one in New York City, Memorial Sloan Kettering, which is very large and very wealthy. Memorial Sloan Kettering is about 5 times bigger than Roswell Park. We have an endowment of about $20 million right now. They have an endowment of $1.4 billion. So the difference in their ability to do things independently without state support is obviously very different than us. Now, we hope to build that endowment to the point that we also can move further and further away from the state, but we can't do that right now. Most of the other centers are part of a large university, so they have other resources that they can use to help keep them functioning. We are freestanding. We're all alone, so what we have is what we have. We have nobody else to turn to when we need a new building, additional faculty, administrative support. The other centers can use the university's administrative support, their human resources, their legal counsel. We have to do all those things ourselves. So we're just sort of unique. It's a different situation. There's a challenge for you.
我刚刚提到那个私有化的问题，就是他的那个主要的见解就是要看具体的情况而言，就是对于他来说可能是一个比较特殊的情况，就是说如果在依附在这种州政府的情况之，如果在依附在这种州政府之下，他们就很难以得到这种发展。但是对于其他的州政府，可能他们有更加开明的那种政策，能够更好的扶持这种科研机构的发展，所以他们也不用独立。但对于他来说，情况可能有点特殊。然后然后在美国有几个这种非常独立的，就是完全跟政府脱钩的这种机构，但是对于他们来说，往往他们有其他的资源可以依赖。比如说有一些机构它是依附着大学的，他们可以依赖他们的这种人力啊，这种信息这方面。但是对于他这个机构来说，他没有任何人可以去寻求帮助，当他遇到困难的时候。虽然他们想就是说从这个州政府跟这个州政府的关系脱离得越来越远，但是现在来说，他们只能保证现在这种状态，因为他们没有其他的资源，只能靠自己。
好，大家因为时间的关系，那么就不再提问了。以后大家有机会还可以和辛迪亚女士再进行交流。那么最后呢，让我们以热烈掌声来感谢辛迪亚女士同志。
Thank you for your excellent questions and your warm welcome.
Thank you very much. 大家记得啊，晚上讲课，因为很多的研究生很关心公务员的这个问题，来接着学习详细。